Okay. Hey guys, it's Cam from Mickey Knuckles here with the sexiest man in comics, Adam Gorham, here to talk politics, vaccinations, NFTs. What are the controversial topics at the moment? Adam's here for it with a
We're pressing all of the hot buttons tonight.
yeah, that's how we should advertise it. No, we'll pretty much talk about anything but that. Because I don't want to. It's all these hot topics, you get so inundated with social media, Twitter, and it's difficult to navigate through. So I'd rather talk comics with yourself, Adam. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine. A little tired. It's been a busy week, but in a busy month and a busy holiday season. But I'm hanging in there.
And you just how many pages this week?
In the past 2 days I've done 7 pages, but this week I've done closer to 10.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And is that from like pencil, ink, everything?
Yeah. So I found myself in a bit of a crunch where I am my process slowed down a bit over the holiday season, and then we here in Ontario had something of an extended holiday season because of the surge with the Omicron, and so we had the kids home a little bit longer than anticipated. So it was just harder to keep productivity going. But literally, they went back to school yesterday, and the past 2 days have been super productive.
Oh, I bet.
But yeah, so it's a combination of things, a combination of kind of like biting off a little bit more than I can chew, and juggling a lot at home and so on. So now I'm really trying to finish a lot of stuff that is kind of a hangover from 2021 or 20. What year are we in?
22. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So trying to clean up my mess.
Yeah. So 22. So that about 27. Is that we're both 27, right?
Yeah. I turned 37 on Tuesday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thank you.
It was you and Rossi. When was Rossi's birthday?
I think yesterday.
Geez. Yeah, I apologize. I don't even remember my family's birthdays. I know my dad's and I know my son's. That's it.
Those are the majors.
Yeah. No, that it's funny you talk about that because you kind of, on top of the success of the Blue Flame, which is an awesome book, and kind of really took off like right from the get-go. There's a lot of hype around that book, and in the middle of that, as an ongoing, you kind of landed. I don't want to speak for you, but dream project in a sense.
Yeah.
When it rains, it pours in. I'm talking about Godzilla. I don't know if you want to just talk about that. Keep it kind of general. I know you told me what you originally pitched it as and what your idea was, but I also don't want to pull back the curtain too far and get you in trouble and reveal too much. But you've maybe if you just want to give us a little update on that, and how that came to fruition, and maybe a bit on your relationship with the King of the Monsters.
Sure. Well, as far as this project goes, honestly, like about this time last year, I had come up with this idea and to do a Godzilla story that had that was kind of a crossover. So kind of like Godzilla meets War of the Worlds. Like if Martian invaders came to Earth, but then ran afoul of Godzilla, and how would that play out? And so this was like a combination of things going on in my brain at the time. Like over the pandemic, I had gotten into collecting action figures. And so I had on my shelf this figure of Godzilla and a figure of a Martian, and they were facing each other. And I just kind of thought it'd be cool to tell a story where those two worlds collided. And it's not like, if you've seen Godzilla movies, like, Godzilla's encountered aliens before, and so it's not a completely out of the box idea. But I have an affinity for like Mars attacks and Martian invaders. Like, I've always thought that stuff was really cool. So like Godzilla's never had a story where it was like that kind of straight up mean aliens invading. And so I thought it'd be cool to write a story like that, because I had no intention of drawing it, because this was January of 2021, and I was starting the Blue Flame. I was trying to finish up a Dune that I was drawing, so I had a lot on my plate. But I thought it'd be cool to, I had been wanting to write something official for a long time. I do write, for myself, and will write down ideas and so on and so forth. So it was something I had wanted to do for a while, and I had, I knew that IDW had the rights, with Godzilla once again, and I had good relationships with them, and so I floated the idea out, and it was there was like some courtship, a little dance that you have to do, because you can't just solicit unsolicited ideas.
That's right.
But I put out some feelers, and they were surprisingly receptive, and wanted to hear me out. And then I guess coincidentally, they wanted to do this series of one-shots called Godzilla Rivals. So this was something that would develop over the course of the year. So I had my idea, and parts of it they were all for, and then parts of it they couldn't really do because of the way Toho operates. And Toho has a very specific criteria and guidelines for what you can and can't do with Godzilla. I learned that Godzilla can never be depicted eating anything.
Sorry, did you say eating anything?
You can't eat anything. You can't show him eating stuff. I had some kind of interesting ideas with him, but you can't show him. That was the one. There was a few things, but that was the thing that cracked me up the most, is that you can never see him eating. And he's got these thunder thighs. Like, he obviously eats a lot.
Yeah.
But I guess it'll have to remain a mystery how he keeps his figure. But yeah, so like over a period of several months, IDW was very kindly let me flesh out my idea, and then get into writing. And as I was doing my regular art duties, I would set aside time each week to kind of like write the story out in 10-page blocks. And so I had, it's a 40-page story that they gave me, and so I broke it up into 4 chapters and pages of 10 and attacked it that way. But the gist of the story is that like Martians invade, Godzilla shows up, and he ends up fighting King Ghidorah. And this is familiar territory for anybody who's seen some of the Godzilla films. But with this is it was an opportunity for me to kind of make the sort of 90s alien invasion disaster movie that I grew up watching as a kid. They told me like most of it takes place in space and on Mars, but it's supposed to be set in the 90s. They were like, we want each of these things to be set in a specific decade. Your decade is the 90s. And I found it kind of arbitrary, but whatever. But after a while, it started to make sense, because like, I was a child of the 90s, and like, in the mid 90s, there was this resurgence of like alien invasion films. You know, you had Mars Attacks, Independence Day, Men in Black, The Arrival, more that I, you know, probably more that I'm not thinking. And then, of course, like the 1998 American Godzilla. And I ate all of these movies up. So, I mean, like, it was kind of the perfect decade for me to operate in. And so, you know, as I was writing the story, I was just more or less channeling and cribbing from all of these movies that I loved as a kid. And then also, I gave me the chance to, you know, when people watch Godzilla movies, one of the things people say the most is how awful the humans are. And I wondered why that is, because it's a true challenge telling a Godzilla story, because you have to, like, you know, you don't, as much as you want a movie about that just focuses on the monsters doing monster business, like, you know, like, I think these stories require a human element. But so for me, and a fun and interesting challenge was, how do you make that awesome? And I'd like to say that I cracked it. We'll see, I guess. But I decided that I wasn't going to try to make my human characters very grounded or down to earth, or people that you knew. So, you know, like, you know, my cast of characters are, you know, like, they're doing interesting things. They're not, you know, they're not salt of the earth type people. And so, you know, like, I have one character that I was really tickled by was, like, I decided to just have a straight up Bond villain be a central figure in the story. Not like a literal Bond villain, but, you know, the Martians invade and they really give Earth a pounding, and, you know, the governments of the world are on the ropes. And so they turn to this Dr. Evil type supervillain who has, like, a hidden fortress layer somewhere, and it's like, you know, their last, it's their Helm's Deep. They meet there and try to plan how to take the Earth back, and, you know, they're guests of this dude that they'd otherwise be defending the world from. And, you know, his attitude is like, I want to take over the world, not the Martin. I can't take over the world. So, you know, let's form an alliance. You can be guests in my secret supervillain lair, and, you know, we'll figure this out. And so, so that was, you know, that was really fun, and I think it works. And you know, I figure it's just best to go zany and over the top with the characters. And, you know, like, I get to do all this fun research. So I, you know, watch a lot of movies, and, you know, monster movies, and got into manga and anime, and because I thought it would help bring some of the flavors that I wanted the story to have. And then at a certain point, I got to, you know, I finished writing it, and that was a huge achievement in and of itself. I had finally written my first script, and you know, got it approved. And then I feel like I've been drawing it ever since. It's a big, like, you know, like, I've written myself big scenes with big action set pieces, and very packed pages. So writer me wasn't thinking of artist me.
Well, I just know from knowing you personally, and, you know, you let me in to see some of your creative process sometimes, and even just spending some time with you at the comic shop at cons and stuff. You're very insightful. Like, I feel like, you know, it's odd to me that this is the first official thing you've written. You know, just due to your approach and how, you know, insightful you typically are about your content, and, you know, you're doing a lot of storytelling, obviously, when you're collaborating. So, but that's interesting to hear, and I like your approach with the Godzilla stuff, because I know even, like, the new movies, which I love. Don't get me wrong, like, I love them.
Yeah.
My little guy loves them. Guilty pleasure. But, you know, the elevated critique is always that, well, this isn't logical for the human characters to do. And I'm like, well, like, what do you do? Like, me and my little guy are there to watch King Kong punch Godzilla
Yeah.
on a ship. That's why we're there. And obviously you want a good movie with a good story and everything, but it's something I've often thought in my mind, like what is the answer to that? And I think what you presented works especially good. It's like I'd love to see the cinematic version head in that crazy of a direction, especially nowadays, because some of the older stuff does get zany, but it's also they're not that invested in the zany human side stories. That's really exciting. I hope you don't spoil any more. Everyone still needs to buy the book.
Well, it's 40 pages, so there's plenty left unspoiled. I can guarantee you that.
And are you is it slated for release? Do we know? Do you have that date yet?
It was supposed to be December. I needed more time with the art, and so they've pushed it back. And so it'll be in February, I believe.
Okay.
But nice. I don't know the official release date. Okay. But once I do, I'll have some more stuff to share regarding the book. Some stuff that I'm excited to really get online and show people.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, do you have any Godzilla art beside you?
Yeah, boy, do I ever.
I'm gonna make you the main focus here, so don't be too shy.
Okay, I'll try not to be. Well, yeah. So I've got some fun things here. Let's take advantage of this. Let's take up as much screen as I can. So here's a spread.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's outstanding. Holy, yeah. And that is, is there airbrush on there? Is that ink wash?
This is airbrush. So I'm using airbrush for a lot of flourishes on pages. Bigger panels, not so much smaller panels, because they're just a little more. It's a bit of a pain to do the really small stuff, unless I think that it would just be worth it. But for the most part, I'll do wash here and there. But then in other cases, I will just like add it digitally. But so there's at a certain point, there's a dog fight in Tokyo between jets and flying saucers and Godzilla. Here's another page that I had shared online a little while ago.
Yeah.
And it's our big boy giving everybody a what for.
Yeah, those are some of my favorite things I've ever seen you draw.
And the last thing I'll show is one of the most recent ones. Now, it's called Godzilla Rivals versus King Ghidorah. So, King Ghidorah is going to show up, and when it happens, it's going to be a big deal. So this is their meet cute.
Oh wow! Oh wow! That is incredible.
Yeah.
And infinitely cooler that it's a double spread. Yeah, that's outstanding. With both Godzilla and Ghidorah, or Ghidorah, however you choose to pronounce him, is it Ghidorah or is it Ghidorah? I say Ghidorah.
I say Ghidorah as well. I think that even if it's Ghidorah, I think the legendary movies have made it Ghidorah. So those are the guns I'm sticking to.
My Western Canadian accent's going to be mocked no matter what I do. So I'll stick with Ghidorah. No, that's great. It looks like, some of your stuff, and I have, I'm just going to jump back to the dual layout. This is one of the pieces, and I apologize, my screen's all not the best lighting, but this piece right here is kind of more classic. I don't know what era Godzilla is. This is for you art junkies. This is in the drop tomorrow, amongst some other things we'll share here momentarily. But drawing on, was there a mandate for the versions to use? Because it looks like you're kind of a little bit legendary, a little bit Toho in your renditions there.
There wasn't a specific mandate. Like they wanted to make sure that, like, because he's got little ears that sometimes I think people overlook, and I'm not sure if that's carried over into the Legendary Monsterverse design. But the Toho Godzilla has these little ears, and very specifically, they told me like the amount of teeth that he has in his jaw. So 2 fangs and then 4 teeth in between, and then the ears. But I wanted to. I've drawn him a bunch. Like I've drawn Godzilla a bunch, and I try to do something. It's like when I draw Batman or other people. It's like it's an opportunity to kind of put a new spin or a new flavor on it, because it's not. If it's for fun, then you're just playing around, and so that's how I've drawn Godzilla before. But for the sake of this story, there needed to be a consistent look, and so I did take some time to settle on. Like it's very easy to stay on book with Godzilla just because there's like, just films upon films of reference that you can really stick to. But, I wanted it to be recognizably Toho, but also recognizably me, you know? And so I sketched him out a bunch like you would normally would when you're designing characters for your story. And so until I settled on a physique and a gait and, head structure that I felt comfortable with, that looked right to my eye, and then also looked right in, compared to works that other people were doing. And, as I was working on it, I think, IDW had put out issues where Godzilla fought Ghidorah and Mothra, and so I got to see how those artists approached the monster, and they went for a more classic look. And my whole story is kind of it's essentially a 90s remix of a number of things. So I felt comfortable in applying that same mentality to my design. So I would say there's like a lot of late 80s, early 90s look, you know what I mean? So Godzilla versus Biollante, Destroyer, and Space Godzilla, like it's that era that I probably stayed closest to, and it's also my personal favorite look of his. But he's also, it's a fight issue. So I've beefed him up a bit, like in that sketch that you showed. Like he's definitely in fighting shape.
Yeah. Do you want to just hold that double page, like they're meeting, up just one more time, just for in case anyone didn't see it the first time. Just if you're just hopping on, we're just talking about Adams, kind of the inspiration he took from different eras and his own spin. This is a double page spread. Godzilla Rivals versus King Ghidorah.
Mm-hmm. And this Ghidorah is specifically the 90s Ghidorah. He's had a few, looks over the course of the films and decades. And so this is his 90s look.
Yeah. I find it funny too, how, over time, because growing up, I always just thought, okay, there's like old Godzilla rubber suit and, the different eras. But I going back and viewing them now, it's funny how much variation there was, like one movie to the next on the Godzilla design. And I think because when I was younger, before I just stumbled across a movie store that had, a dozen or more VHS tapes of Godzilla versus whoever, growing up, I only thought there was like 3 Godzilla movies. There was the first one, there's Godzilla versus King Kong, and then there was Godzilla versus Gigan. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really interesting to go back, and now we actually have access to it. Because I think, you know, Rod was talking about the Criterion Collection. I think Crave, for, I don't know if it's the same thing in the States, but the HBO Max, the Crave, the streaming service, they have a bunch of the Criterion Godzillas on streaming right now. So it's really cool. Actually, Jack, my little guy, and I, we watched Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla this morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he likes it. He's got 2 different Mechagodzillas, about 8 different Godzillas. So he really likes that one. You just don't know how stuff like that's going to this next generation or young kids, how they're going to view that. I mean, for us, it was awesome. Like giant monsters, we didn't care. There wasn't the endless options now, but it's great to see that those still hold up, like in terms of the charm and the appeal to modern people who, you know, like it has access to 17 streaming services, and you know, you can watch any Marvel movie he wants at any given time. You know, it's just the access is so, it's not like us growing up where I thought there was 3 Godzilla movies, and you might get one on late night NBC once every 4 years.
Yeah.
That was kind of the extent of it.
Well, so. I find that, you know, not to sound too much like an old man, but like, you know, the older movies, like they're not, you know, they're not great movies, you know what I mean? Like, but they're a pretty good time. And I think that one of the reasons why they hold up, and this is, you know, like if you're going to watch these movies, especially the older ones from the 60s and 70s, you know, like I think you go in with the right frame of mind to watch them. Like, you know what you're getting into, and you set your expectations accordingly. And even so, you know, like whenever I watch a monster movie, it's like when I watch, you know, like you know, a James Bond movie or something like that. Like, I'm not comparing a James Bond movie to another kind of action movie. Like, I'm comparing it to, you know, other James Bond movies. And so I did the same thing with Godzilla's, because, you know, there's no point in, you know, like there's such a distinct flavor of film, you know, like they fill a niche. And I think it's because they're so specific. Revisiting them is really fun, because you're not really, whatever they manage to produce, you're not getting anything else like that anywhere else. You know, even with these newer Godzilla movies, you know, they still, like, they're made for like the modern, you know, palette of audiences. And so, you know, like, which, you know, is like, I enjoy them and they're fun, but they still, you know, you're still not getting just the zaniness that they were doing with the original films. And so, you know, like it hits, you know, it scratches an itch. And I think that's why they still have mass appeal for people who, you know, especially kids who check them out. Like, I watched a number of them while working on this. And it was a fun excuse to watch things that I had, you know, wanted to watch anyway. But I watched them with my 2 daughters, and they had a blast. And it was interesting seeing which movies they responded to. And one film in particular was Son of Godzilla, that we all had a really great time with.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't expecting to, because Baby Godzilla didn't really hold a lot of interest to me. And, you know, this is around the time when Toho figured out that, like, their audience had swung to, like, you know, they were pivoting to be more kids films, right? And but there was just a lot of weird, silly stuff that was funny and also unintentionally funny. And you know, like, it just becomes a good time rather than like a good movie in and of itself. So I think that, you know, I think this wacky stuff will continue to appeal to people. So I'm happy to hear that your boy, you know, like, that seed has been planted.
Yeah, it was. I push him in a lot of those directions, but Godzilla was something that really stuck with him, and I think he really enjoys those old ones. And sometimes I think the newer ones, like Godzilla versus Kong or King of the Monsters or whatever are almost a little too maybe overstimulating in a sense, that I think a lot of times he prefers the old ones because it's, you know, it's rubber suit monsters, and the fighting's deliberate, but it like you said, it's zany, it's fun, and there's something about Godzilla fighting in the, because it's always that hilly landscape before they end up in the city, and there's something that just takes me to a very happy place, you know, when those two monsters square off, I think. And you know, one thing that I'm seeing now, and probably seen a lot, like I think with comic art commissioners, you know, the kaiju, the giant monster, specifically Godzilla, it's becoming a more popular request. And you know, seeing some of the influence in, like, obviously you're tackling the guy, you're tackling King of the Monsters, but there's so many books out right now or coming out that are centered around like that giant kaiju, Godzilla, Ultraman. You know, whether it's, you know, I see Matthias Bergara's Step by Bloody Step. You know, that's a giant one. There's another one, We Ride Titans, is coming. You look at obviously Ultra Mega from Heron. I just was noticing it the other day because even me, like I write a bit and stuff, and that giant monster genre, for lack of a better word, is just so appealing. And I don't know what it is about you guys as creators in comics, and how the zaniness, and it's not even the zaniness. Like you look at Ultra Mega, it gets ultra dark, and you know, but it's just that general appeal has kind of, I venture to say you see the influence of that stuff more in comics now than you probably see it anywhere else, you know, in my opinion. But
yeah, I mean, there's certainly more comics about giant monsters than there are films, or, you know, like it's in television. And that's probably because it's just far easier to execute on paper than it would be to film. I think also because this has been the appeal for me as well. Like if I hadn't gotten to do Godzilla, like I probably would have wanted to have created my own kaiju and made a world out of that. Which I, you know, who knows, I still might. But there, you know, from an artistic point of view, it's really fun to get to play with scale, with you know, like these giant things crushing buildings, you know. And so that's really fun to try and imagine and trying to execute well on the page. And then you know, like I think it's like most comic series, like especially creator owns and whatnot, a lot of it is like, you know, why wait to get the opportunity to work on an IP when you can just create your own, like distill everything that you loved and into something, you know, original, right? I mean, that's how we got Star Wars, you know, ironically. Like George Lucas wanted to make a Flash Gordon movie, didn't get the rights to it, and thought, okay, well, you know, what can I do what are the things that I loved about Flash Gordon, and then pooled a bunch of other stuff that he liked and was inspired by, and now, you know, Star Wars is what it is. And so, you know, that to me is the biggest lesson from Star Wars in particular, but from wanting to work on, you know, like intellectual properties and so on, and doing, you know, basically doing work for hire stuff, which is, you know, really fun, and you get to contribute to a tapestry. But then it's also neat to, you know, there will always be that character or that property that you might not get the opportunity to, but you have that story to tell, so you augment it and make it something that is unique to yourself. So I think, and you know, with comics, you can do that just as easily. You don't need anybody's permission to. Unlike film, where you need like a multi-million-dollar budget and years of you know, pre-visualization and all that stuff. So, but I guess like maybe it's just something of a generation where, you know, creators in our age bracket grew up with these things, and now, you know, like we're 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 bleeding it out into our art. Like there's people who love the Power Rangers who are basically doing their Power Ranger comic, like with Radiant Black.
Yeah.
And certainly, with kaiju, there's like Ultra Mega and we Ride Titans, and I mean, I did covers for Giga, which was the same similar idea, like a world in which immense mechanized robots exist. So like it's definitely, it's in the ether, and maybe there was just something in the water when we were growing up, and now it's affecting us. Our brain.
I'm glad you brought Giga up, because that was a massive oversight on my part, because I think what you guys did with that, that's a really unique concept. Because it just takes it kind of a different direction. But speaking to like developing IP or venturing off on your own, now that you're a writer, a comic book writer officially,
I need to get my writer's blazer. Everybody I know who started writing began to wear blazers at their convention tables. They're still a t-shirt, lanyard, blazer, and so that's the official uniform of the comic writer, and I need to get on that stat.
Are there any writers we can make fun of? Is there an Ed Brisson joke in there somewhere? Or
you know what? Ed stayed true to his heart, his hemp shirt, and his cargo shorts. So no, Ed is not one of those writers. But my very good buddy Fred Kennedy, who I love deeply. I remember when we started out, two doughy guys in t-shirts, and he saw a very successful writer wear a suit, a three-piece, and that's the path he took. So, but he's gotten himself in shape. He's a very good-looking guy, and he really wears those suits. So more power to him. Maybe if I get there, I'll be in three pieces as well.
Well, I can't imagine. I guess with a convention too. One guy I always think about, who was an artist too, is Ben Templesmith, is always in a three-piece, and he's done right up. And I love Ben. I've always loved his work.
He's got that gothic sensibility too, though. I think
it suits him very well.
Yeah, like he's not wearing a suit ironically. Like it's very much he's got swagger.
What blows my mind about that is Cycle says 2 doughy guys in t-shirts coming soon to ABC. Adam and Fred, yeah. There, we just pitched it. With Ben, but he draws lots of conventions. I always thought, with all the maneuvering you guys have to do, I think about our compact little table at Fan Expo with you, Dylan, and Gerardo a couple years ago. The maneuvering, I just you need to be wearing Lululemon pants and a t-shirt. Like, you guys, how can that be comfortable for Ben? And I give him all the credit in the world. He draws at conventions. He draws great stuff at conventions, but he does it all. And I guess maybe none of my suits fit me, so I'm always really uncomfortable. Maybe his are tailored really well. I don't know, but I couldn't do it. I don't even draw. I just hate moving and stuff like that.
Yeah, I get uncomfortable in formal wear as well, but I buy off the rack. So maybe if I had something tailored and that just with fine silken materials from overseas, maybe that's all I'd ever want to wear. I don't know. I'm not there yet in my writing career.
Well, and is it something, obviously right now you're doing a ton of work, and a ton of great work, and throwing writing into it in the middle of ongoing like Blue Flame, this huge project in Godzilla, on top of a multitude of other things. You're still doing covers. I just totally forgot when I went today that your crossover cover. You're doing covers on major books. In a perfect world, would you be pursuing your own creator-owned projects, written and illustrated, or are you kind of just like jumping back and forth?
Like in a perfect world, I would be doing everything all at once. Like I'm a pretty ridiculous person who bites off more than they can chew. So, I think a smarter person would do one project at a time and do it very well. And not to say that I'm doing bad work left, right, and center, but there are times, there are days, there are weeks where it's like I wish I could devote a singular focus to this particular thing and not stretch myself so thin. But I have a constant fear of disappearing just because the memory of comics and I guess being active online as an artist feels like the collective memory can be so short, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always been a glutton for punishment, and I haven't really. I don't think I've been successful enough to completely abandon the hungry mentality that I started out with. So I have a compulsion to take on as much as I can. And so like chances are I'll find myself in a situation very soon where I'll be doing, after I've finished everything I'm trying to get done, throw myself right back into another boiling pot. But I do have plans to do some, I'll be doing I'll be wrapping up the Blue Flame this year. It goes to issue 10, so that'll be done soon. And then I'll be doing some creator-owned stuff that I'll co-authoring, I guess, but not really writing.
Okay.
And then there's a few things that are in flux. They're not, I can't set my watch to them yet, but I do have a writing opportunity with a creator-owned book that I'm not necessarily the creator of. So I'll be guest writing a creator-owned thing
Cool.
with a friend. So that will be my next just straight up writing opportunity. But I also think that I'll be roped into drawing it as well. So
that was my next question there, because I guess that's your blazer lanyard opportunity, is when you write a book that someone else illustrates. I guess that's when you hit that level.
Well, you do. I mean, when I talk with artist friends of mine, when we commiserate, there is this sense where people take there's more respectability when you can write and draw, especially if you are writing and drawing your own stuff and you're really flexing your muscles there. So it's something that I would personally like to do, and would like to have to my name. But I also think just there are like Jeff Lemire, Chip Zdarsky, like those guys will write stuff for other artists, and then they'll write stuff that they draw. Like it seems like they've always got something cooking.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, they probably don't have 2 children, but so I'll see. I can only do so much, but with that said, it does, like, that is really appealing to me. Like with Godzilla, for instance, I didn't plan on drawing it. I had wanted to write it, and there was actually a couple of people that I wanted to approach, but it just never got that far. One of the, they were like, "Well," in those early talks, we're like, "Let's do this. We'd love for you to write it, but we also want you to draw it as well," which was very, I was very flattered. But at the same time, it was like, shit, I don't know how I'm going to do this.
I remember, some of our initial conversations when that was going on. I was, especially with a book having the success of the Blue Flame, and you're putting a lot of work into that, and really, when we were talking about it before we went live, incorporating some new techniques that are really, driving the book forward with the art. So not only are you putting more time and effort into this major book you're already doing, but the Godzilla opportunity was truly one you couldn't say no to. So, and I'm really happy. I know a lot of people I talked to are really excited to see it. It's for those that tuned in, they got a little teaser, and I'm sure you'll be sharing a little bit on social media prior to the actual drop date.
Yeah, in the weeks to come, I'm going to be sharing a lot of stuff, especially when I know exactly it's coming out.
do you have and I don't know, are you allowed to show it? Have you shown your cover to it yet?
No, I've done a secret cover. I have not been able to share it yet.
Okay.
But yeah, that's one of the things I was alluding to. So when I get the chance, I'll be making a lot of noise about that.
Yeah. So sorry, I teased that with the following, but I think that's folks' minds are gonna explode a little bit over that one.
I mean, I can't do a Godzilla comic that I'm writing and drawing and not do a cover. I was gonna find a way to do a cover.
Yeah, and it's pretty bare bones. You didn't really put much into it. It's fairly straightforward. Yeah, you just threw something on the paper.
Yeah.
I may or may not have seen what we're talking about here. I can neither confirm nor deny, but it's definitely not what I just said. So cool, sir. Well, I told you 30 minutes. We're at about 46, which sounds about right. For overage, but wanted to share a bit because we're going to be dropping some of Adam's art tomorrow, including some Blue Flame and some specialty pieces. So I'm just going to flash them across here again. Apologies, the lighting in this room is awful. Showed you this. This was kind of a for fun piece. Was this when you were sketching out, just getting the idea for Godzilla and how you wanted to do it, or was this just one you?
This was a warm up. This was a warm up exercise. So I was going to be working on this was ahead of a Godzilla page that I was doing for that day, and I just needed to get my head right and warming up with the tools that I was going to be using. So it was just good exercise. And
yeah, this is a great piece.
They don't always, warm up stuff doesn't always turn out that nice, but this one did. So
awesome. And we've got a few warm ups and a few others and some covers as well. Is this what's this guy's name? Shadow Man?
Sleepwalker. That's Sleepwalker.
Sleepwalker, sorry, not Shadow Man.
So he was he's a Marvel character from the 90s, or at least that's when I read his solo title. And he's kind of like Dream in from the Sandman in that way, where he enters people's dreamscapes. But that was another thing where it's like I needed to shake the rust off and asked Twitter for some recommendations, and somebody called out Sleepwalker. So,
and well, if you're on Twitter and you're not getting insulted, at least it has its uses. I'm sure there's some toxic comments somewhere along the stream. There usually is, but
no,
I'm just kidding. And this is who?
This is a little known character, a breakout character, who just had a movie that I think did okay this past winter, SpiderMan. And, I don't know what got into me. There's a few people who regularly post really excellent Spider-Mans. Tom Riley's one of them. Tom Riley is just on a daily basis, a regular basis, just doing really excellent Spider-Man doodles. But for whatever reason, I was experiencing some No Way Home FOMO, which I've still yet to have seen, but it seemed like everybody I knew was going to the theaters to see it and catch COVID. So I got, that's how I dealt with my jealousy. I drew Spider-Man. He was a lot of fun to draw, and I thought there was a moment where I was like, you know what, I could see myself drawing this guy on a monthly basis. We'll see.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. Any Marvel editors out there? Yeah, because you've dabbled in the X-Men universe, the Punisher, Doctor Strange, but I guess have you ever drawn a Spidey? I guess Spidey was in the Contagion issue, right?
No,
Or he wasn't.
no, I've never gotten to draw Spider-Man in official capacity. So I like with Marvel, I've touched on some street level stuff. So with Contagion, that was Moon Knight that I drew for the most part, some Elektra and other various, the Fantastic Four, but not Spider-Man, unfortunately. And then I did an issue of Savage Avengers where I got to draw Wolverine for a page.
Yeah.
And it was a weird, just a little sidebar there, but I was really excited because Jerry Duggan got me to draw an issue of Savage Avengers. It was very Conan centric.
Yeah, he was definitely the star of that issue.
Yeah, but I was excited, with the Savage Avengers. Like, it's a team composed of like every character that you loved as a '90s kid.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's like, I could potentially, I didn't know what I was going to be drawing, but I was like, I could potentially be drawing a scene with Venom and Wolverine and Conan for some reason, and so on. But I did get to draw Wolverine for one page where he just, him and some other magical people are hanging out in Doctor Strange's sanctum, and I got him with like his arms at his. It's a very casual, but so it's like semi-serious pose that he's in, and I remember showing that to one of the people working at Marvel, and they're like, you didn't draw him with the claws out, and it just hit me that no, I didn't. So I don't know if I'll ever get that opportunity again. But I drew the one time I got to draw Wolverine, and he's looking he's too casual for claws. Or figure.
Oh well, I'm sure the opportunity will come.
Yeah.
Here's another piece from the drop tomorrow.
Yep. This is Catwoman from Cliff Chiang's Lonely City, which is one of my favorite comics of 2021. It just Cliff Chiang's a master storyteller, wonderful illustrator, and I am a sucker for Gotham City and stories that aren't necessarily Batman centric. Like when you're telling a story in Gotham, Batman's in the peripheral at the very least. But
yeah.
But I like seeing how people, not to say make Gotham City grounded, but at least plausible in a day-to-day slice of life approach. And so one of the things that these two issues have done really well is show characters that we know and love in kind of more settings, and like how they live when they're not on an adventure. And, so just super cool, and again another warm-up exercise, and I felt like having some fun with a dynamic character.
That is a great piece. And then this one, you're gonna have to explain your thought process that went into this one, because this thing is a monster.
Yeah. So this must just be something in my system that happens maybe once every year. Because I think last winter I got it in my system where I needed to do a full color piece just for fun, and I think that was a painted Godzilla, a burning Godzilla.
Yep.
And it was mixed media and so on. So like clockwork, I got the same urge, and my family and I were watching the Lord of the Rings movies over the winter holiday break, which a lot of people do, and I hadn't seen them in a few years, and my kids either hadn't seen them or it wasn't in their memory. So we just had a fun time watching the original trilogy, and the scene at Khazad-dûm with the Balrog it's probably my favorite thing from the three movies.
Awesome.
Just the Balrog is such a cool monster character. The Mines of Moria is just like it was. I remember when I read the books and when I saw the movie as well. Like it was just everything about that section of the story really does it for me. So I just decided to give my take on it. So this is, Gandalf facing off with the Balrog at the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, and about to do his "you shall not pass" thing, and so I laid it out with pencil, and then I put down a primer of orange and yellow watercolor, and added some more color to it, and some marker, and pencil crayon were necessary, and then inked it with traditional ink and some airbrushing. But yeah, so it's just something that I did for fun. I had it in my system and kind of got larger in the process.
Yeah, this is beautiful, and we're dropping this tomorrow. So all you maniacs, this will sell really quick. Absolutely beautiful. Because I think that I remember the Godzilla too. You're on a whim. I'm going to do a full piece in color. And I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. But I think I'm going to show 2 more pieces.
Okay.
Have you shown the crossover cover's been solicited, right?
That's out in the world, so you can share that.
I thought it was. Yeah, Rod says maybe Doctor Who will hit your system one day. So this is the cover to crossover. What, number 11?
Issue 11, yeah.
So really excited to drop this. This is going to be going as well. I'm a few issues behind on crossover, but great book. Shaw's killing it as always.
Yeah. Yeah, this was loads of fun. It was kind of an unexpected gig. My friend and collaborator Deaconif got me on it, and I had to it was for issue 11, so I read issues. I had read the first couple of issues, but I caught up to 10 in preparation for it. Any excuse to read a bunch of comics is one I will take. And so it's a really fun series, and Donny Cates is he's one of the biggest writers right now for a reason. So it was just it was a chance to do something a little surreal. Just the very nature of the story presented an opportunity to do something off the wall, and I was playing with the idea of actually just taking a photo of, because this is like meant to be a drafting table. So I was playing with the idea of taking a photo of my drafting table and incorporating that into the art. I also was thinking of drawing this in a way where like an optical illusion, like drawing a piece in a way and then cutting it so that it looked like the sword was coming out of the page, and then taking a photo of that and then using that for the cover. But I have neither the artistic nor technical skill to achieve that, so I just had to draw everything instead.
Well, this is awesome. This is great cover. I think you achieve a number of things on there. So for all you collectors, that will be in the drop tomorrow as well. And this last one, was this, this is your Rat King.
Yeah.
Your TMNT.
So this has not been solicited yet.
Never mind.
But it is Rat King, and it's for an upcoming event, in the world of the Ninja Turtles. I can say that.
I'll edit that out. I thought it was maybe one of your concept design pieces, just because I didn't see a number on the back, and unlike a lot of our artists, you label everything. So
I think you politely encouraged me to do so. Because I think I came about because I was worried that it occurred to me that people might be buying, because it's not common for me to sign my pages,
Yeah.
unless somebody's buying them. And then it hit me like, Cam has my pages. I'm not around to sign them if they sell, so I better sign them. And then you were like, it'd be helpful if they were also numbered.
Yeah, your stuff. Well, yeah, I was just getting some digs in it. I'm trying to think who the culprits are. There's a few, but
yeah, it's dragging.
Yeah, who can we go after? We've already went after Fred and Ed, so beware our wrath. No, well, I'll edit that part out, so it don't get you in any trouble.
For sure.
But well, I think that's kind of it, guys. Adam, appreciate the time, and again, guys, there'll be a mail out with the art drop tomorrow. Excited for you guys to see a lot of what Adam's been doing. He's doing some amazing work. There'll be some blue flame in there as well, and Godzilla. We're looking at February, not TBD for Godzilla. Rivals versus King Ghidorah.
So most likely a February release, but we'll have a firm date very, very soon. Also in February, once Godzilla is officially out of off my plate and off my table, I'll be getting to what's left on my commission list. So for people who are waiting on commissions that you set up through CAM, I've sketched out a bunch of really fun ideas for the things that are on my list so far, and so you can anticipate seeing those throughout the next month, and they're going to be super cool.
Another bonus. Yeah, Adam never fails to disappoint on the commissions, and I just want to, I think I have one handy here.
Oh, nice.
I thought I did. Right here. So this is one from that same list that I'm just waiting to ship with something else, but this is a Conan. This is a Conan bust on 11 by 14 that Adam did cover quality on 11 by 17 in. Got a little carried away, but Brian, the collector, I'm sure he has no qualms with it. So
I needed room for the snakehead monster.
No, this is a great piece. I can't wait for that to have it in his hands. Yeah, Dylan, it's 11 by 14 bust on 11 by 17. It's called Mississauga math. No, that's a great piece. Just wanted to reiterate, Adam's commissions are always killer, and any chance you can get one, get one. And we'll open a list at some point. I'm not sure when. Adam needs to start saying no to projects, but I'm not going to stop him. We're getting Blue Flame and Godzilla and crossover and you name it. So there's don't start saying no. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But Adam, thank you very much. I kind of threw this on you last minute. Drop tomorrow. Guys, everyone, thanks for tuning in. I always threaten it, but I think we're going to kind of get on a weekly schedule here going forward. I know Miss Rossi Gifford wants to talk horror movies with Adam coming up here soon. So we're going to harass her, hopefully get Adam back on soon if we can get him away from the drawing table. But yeah, thanks, Adam, for the time. It was great. Really awesome seeing the Godzilla stuff. That especially that last double page spread. I know a lot of people are going to want that, and I tend not to take too much, even though sometimes it comes through me. But I'll have a hard time shipping that to whoever ends up getting it. So. But
I'm fight for it.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, have a good night, and be on the lookout for the mail out tomorrow with Adam's drop with all these great pieces. Not Godzilla yet, though. There's one Godzilla piece, but not from the upcoming book because it's not out yet. But yeah, keep on the lookout for that. And everyone, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night, everyone.